folks, this is Cidio with TWRAPS, and I'll show you how to install the sport stripes on the Mustang Mach-E. I'll start with the hood, this being the most difficult one to install. And before we begin, make sure that your hood is perfectly clean. Next up, take the vinyl roll and unfold it onto the hood. Next, I'll peel off just the top of it a little bit. And fold the backing. Then I'll do my best to center it. Now, make sure that you give it a few millimeters of folding so it folds around the edge. And now that I've positioned this, I'll simply unpeel. Now this is not perfectly centered, so you can lift up and reposition. As long as you don't press too hard on the film, you'll be able to easily lift it up and reposition. Now try to make it as wrinkle-free as possible. And when you like your alignment, it's time to start using the squeegee to make the film stick and take out any air from under it. Now, one thing I would recommend that you do before you start squeegeeing is that you spray the film on top with soapy water. And the reason for that is to allow the squeegee to move very freely on the film without scratching it. Now notice that you inevitably get some wrinkles in the process, so when that happens, just peel off and reapply and re-squeegee. And if a specific wrinkle is too stubborn, you can use a heat gun or a hair dryer, because if you warm up the film, it's gonna shrink and the wrinkle will disappear. Now, because I'm getting quite a lot of pressure here, I'll just use a heat gun. Okay, so a few notes about this installation. First, the alignment is important because once you start using the squeegee, it's going to be harder to reposition this. At this point, it's going to be almost impossible to reposition it without damaging the vinyl. The other thing is, because of the curves of the hood, you will see pressure that may cause wrinkles. Use a heat gun or a hair dryer. This is top-of-the-line 3M automotive vinyl. It's made to shrink when you heat it. if you've never done this before, try it and you'll see it does miracles. The other thing that might happen is because I sprayed it with soapy water so that the squeegee would slide freely instead of scratching it. You might get some of this water under the film here at the edges, which would prevent the film from sticking. If that happens, you can just give it a few hours, it's gonna dry up and then it will stick. Or you can use a microfiber to kind of soak in the water. And the other thing that might happen is to get air gaps. This is basically air trapped under the vinyl, which you missed to squeegee. And if that happens, if it's close to an edge and you notice it early, just lift up the vinyl and reapply. If you notice this late, or if let's say it's towards the middle here, you can still use the heat gun because that will shrink the film. And once it shrinks, just squeegee over it and most likely it will be fine. If not, if you got like a huge air gap inside, like air pocket, one thing you can do is to poke it with a needle to release the air from under the film. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just send us an email and I will be happy to help. Now, the side stripes are a lot easier. It's mostly just that you have to position it properly. And let me show you. We'll be offering various styles of side stripes, so I'll show you the ones, I'll just show you some of them right now. I'll start with this one. So this is a stripe that starts here at the fender area and goes all the way to the second door. And you should aim to position this at this curve, so there is a little bit of paint exposed. And to tell the proper height, one thing you can do is to look at the other side. So the other side is supposed to fold around the edge a little bit. So that's one way to tell what's the proper height. And make sure that it's really horizontal, otherwise it will be an eyesore. One thing you can do is to kind of position it slightly, then take a step back and make sure that it looks proper. Like for instance, mine doesn't. Now it's better. Now I'll just use the squeegee to make it stick, and then I'll again use the squeegee to fold it around the curve. Now make sure you don't leave an air gap at this fold line. Just press the squeegee hard as you fold. There you go. Now it's the big one. Again, same principle, you need it to be horizontal. And notice that this starts pretty wide and ends a lot thinner. So make sure that, again, this is horizontal and everything is well aligned. It's as I said, it's a pretty simple peel and stick installation. The most difficult part is making sure this is horizontal. And lastly, let me show you the side stripe that goes on the back. So That one you align here at this curve. And it kind of follows this curvature here. And folds around near the door edge. And if you're wondering why we're not offering any stripes that go over the bumper or the trunk, the reason is that we tried to develop those, and when testing we found out that the emblem was not centered. We've seen that with other cars. It depends on how the emblem is being applied to the factory. If it's done by hand and it's glued, then that could happen. And the problem with that is that if the emblem is not centered, then we can't really make anything that goes around it. It will not look good. And there you have it.